It's one thing to ensure that your product is well received by your target market, but it's another thing to penetrate a market you are not so familiar with. However, for Itumeleng phake of Zenzele Fitness Group, who had no experience whatsoever in the fitness industry, it was a walk in the park. Zenzele, which means do-it-yourself, is a name Itumeleng phake chose for his fitness solution business, a fitness and wellness center making waves because of its distinctiveness.
So Zenzele Fitness Group was founded in early 2014. Zenzele is a fitness and wellness solutions company. Essentially what we do is we design the space, we fit it out with equipment, we bring in an operations team, and we manage the facility. Our clients or our operating model is we focus on corporations or corporates where we actually set up fitness facilities in companies. At the same time, we also look at universities, the space. There's a very exciting space in universities. We also set up in the government space or the public or parastatal space where we actually work with government sectors to set up these facilities. And over and above that, we actually a commercial operator where we actually have one facility in Limpopo where it's open to the public. Essentially, that is our four sort of service providing solutions where we do that as Zenzele.
Phake's strong interest in sports and fitness led him to being one of the most popular players in the space.
I've always been an avid sports person. I've always been someone that's interested in fitness. And I think that, I drew my inspiration from my background in finance. So I come from a finance background and I used to be in banking and investment for around 7 years. And I think I drew my inspiration to finance, fitness, business to say, what could I do to do something that I love? And fitness is always something, if I'm not working, I was always at the gym training. And how it actually made me feel, the endorphins and the happy feeling of after you've worked out was amazing. And I think my interest in the fitness space in South Africa, where I was very interested about understanding the fitness space and all the big wellness operators in South Africa, your big commercial health club. And that is when I started doing my feasible study, started understanding the market, obviously as a customer or someone who works out. And then that's when I realized that there's a need, especially in the corporate environment, where imagine having the convenience of being able to train and be physically well within an establishment that you work on. But then over and above that, I realized that there's a bigger picture. It's more than just people being healthy or fit. It's actually a very critical thing in our country. Lifestyle diseases are at its all-time high. At least 40% of death in South Africa are caused by non-communicable diseases, or what you call your lifestyle diseases. Things like high blood pressure, diabetes. And a lot of those people that have those risk factors are people in serious positions in companies, breadwinners in households. And it is very critical for companies to start investing in employee wellness and making sure that their staff are well engaged and productive. And therefore, it became something that is very critical, that it's not just about setting up a gym. It's a lifestyle, it's a wellness center, actually investing in this country for people to be well.
From a qualified banker to being this fitness guru the country has known him to be today, phake says it took a good few years, and as expected, the transition was not as smooth, but says worthwhile.
I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur. It's something that I've always wanted to do, but I think like everyone else, you're afraid of the unknown. I was very scared. However, I knew that there was a time that eventually I'd have to take this leap of faith. I think even though the business was launched in 2014, it was probably about 7 years or 5 years of me actually preparing myself for this business. And obviously doing the correct things to partnering with the right people, acquiring capital, etc., and putting up a business plan and strategy. And essentially, I was quite fortunate that the transition was, I actually got funding from our Way To project of 5 million Rand. So that was the initial funding, which was actually early 2014, where I had to pitch my idea it was just a concept, so I had no background, nothing. But I think sometimes people, they don't just buy on the idea, but they buy on the entrepreneur. And if you look like you have the drive and you think you can do it, and you show the capabilities and you show that you've done your homework, and which is what I was able to display. And they backed me up with 5 million rands. And I think that was a start. And even then I was afraid. When I got the call to say, hey, you got the 5 million, you can quit your job. I was like, I don't know if that's what I want to do. But eventually, my mother she was definitely, she played a very important role, because she told me, my son, I think you should quit your job. I think you have what it takes. Because I was afraid what would happen if this doesn't work out. And I actually resigned because she gave me the confidence that you should do it. I think that you have what it takes, and I did. And 3 years later, Zenzele, we have over 65 full-time employees. We have about 70 contractors. So in total, we're feeding over 100 stomachs within this organization.
Just like all other roads leading to success, one is likely to undergo hurdles. It was no different for the audacious fitness entrepreneur, as he had his fair share of difficulties.
When I quit my job, a lot of my colleagues thought I was crazy, because I had a comfortable job. I mean, I think I was happy in my space, but I wanted something more meaningful. I wanted a purpose-driven life, and I knew that to live that purpose, you have to take some risk. So, people around you saying you're crazy, are you sure about this? 90% of all startups, they shut down in their first year, which is true. A lot of businesses don't survive. And even in the Awetu project, some of the businesses that were funded at the same time that I was on, a lot of them have shut down. Some of these people I know personally, they've shut down and they didn't last 6-12 months. And 3 years later, I continued. So it was a very scary moment. So it was not just about individuals saying things, but it's just the ecosystem of entrepreneurs in South Africa. The support is not that great. And therefore, the success sort of ratio is very low, because our ecosystem is still lacks support. And therefore, you still have to have that drive. And I just made sure that I attract the right partners with me. People that are smarter than me, know better than me. They understand my vision, and that's what I did. My business incorporates over 100 years of experience. And when I say experience, the people that are, backing me up, it's 100 years combined experience. So to mitigate the risk became a lot easier, because I could always sort of benchmark myself against those people who are my advisors, to say, am I actually moving in the right direction? Because the truth be told is, I wouldn't have been able to do it without their help. And therefore, I'm always seeking to find the right partners, to find the right people, the right team, people that can take the business to the next level.
Phake managed to raise a lump sum of money in the first 12 months of the business, and it's all thanks to his strong financial background.
The first year was the 3.6 million. And I think definitely the financial background did help. Also understanding that, in order to scale a business and grow a business, you need capital. And I think that's also one of the challenges for entrepreneurs, raising capital for their business. But capital is not just enough. You need capital, you need strategy, you need a whole team. So the first year was 3.6, the following year it was 5 million, and to date we've raised close to 20 million to continue raising more capital. And therefore I've understood that my position in this business is, and this is where, as a CEO of the company, my focus is on, is that to go and raise capital, build relationships, so that we could set up 100 of these facilities.
Phake has since opened 11 gyms across the country, and what makes him stand out from the rest, he says it is his combination of exercise equipment with technology, and not just offering simple gyms.
We're more than just a gym provider. We're about return on investment for the company and for the end user. And essentially, our wellness journey for a member to walk into a facility is to risk classify them. So every person that walks into a facility is risk classified based on their risk factors or lifestyle disease factors. And if we find that you're high risk, or someone that has high blood pressure, cholesterol issues, you would automatically be assigned a biokineticist who will prescribe an exercise program together with using technology in our equipment. How it works is every member is then given a device. It's called the My Wellness Key. It's basically a personal trainer in your pocket. And for someone who's never trained in their lives, or someone who doesn't know anything about fitness, it's great because walking in these facilities can be very intimidating at times. And therefore, if you find someone who's able to put together a program for you and give you a key and tell you, this is what you need to do, where you actually put the key in the machine then tells you what exercise that you are meant to conduct based on your fitness level. And all that information is then fed back to the biokineticist or the coach who's actually able to see your outcomes and tracking all of that throughout a 12-week duration.
Phake says being selected to participate in the Mandela Washington Leadership Program for young African leaders this past year made him realize and acknowledge the impact he has in his country.
You know, it was quite an honor to be selected amongst that group and to represent South Africa as a young leader. You know, I think that gave me a purpose in understanding that what I'm actually doing has such an impact in my country. To basically have an appetite that, you know, Zenzele should not only play in the South African space, but, you know, there's opportunities in the rest of Africa.
Taking a bull by its horns is a saying Phake lives by and believes emerging entrepreneurs should implement for the success of their businesses.
A dream without execution is just a dream. Executing something is critical. So it's one thing to dream that, you know, you want to be an entrepreneur, you want to be this, but it's very important to find the right resources to execute that idea. And that is where people have a challenge to execute their ideas or their dreams.
There's more to expect from this avid sportsman in future as he plans to become the first black dominant player in Africa and aims to list his company on the JSE. Philani Nyalunga, Sector Unlimited, Johannesburg.